Why does God let the righteous suffer? I was thinking about this earlier today. And in the first place, it's important to be clear because in today's world there are many people who we see as righteous, who appear to be righteous. There are many people who will seem to do good things. But in the first place, we need to understand that righteousness isn't necessarily what you do, right? Because, just as an example, if you help an old lady cross the street, that's not necessarily a righteous thing to do. Because what matters is what's in your heart when you do it. Because one person could help an old lady cross the street and in their heart have no concern for the old lady at all. They could be doing it because they want other people to see them helping that old lady and therefore think, wow, that guy's cool, he's great, he's helping that old lady cross the street. God bless him. And he may even just want the old lady to respect him, to view him as righteous. So there are many people that have that appearance of righteousness, but that's not genuine righteousness. What I would say, the only way that helping an old lady cross the street, as an example, would be righteous would be if your heart and your mind are open to God and God tells you, God puts it on your heart to help that old lady cross the street. And we may experience that different ways. You might hear actual words that seem kind of like your thoughts, but you know that that's God speaking and it's not your own original thoughts telling you, help that old lady cross the street. Some of us might just feel it in our heart. Just all of a sudden, there's a sudden urge to help that old lady cross the street. And so, sometimes we see people who we think are righteous and they're suffering. But in their hearts, they are not righteous. They are not doing anything for the glory of God. They're not doing anything because God has put it on their heart to do that thing. There are many people who are fake righteous, phony righteous, false righteous, self-righteous people. And so when those self-righteous people suffer, the answer is just obvious and plain. It's God's allowing them to suffer as his judgment. God has judged that they need to suffer consequences for their actions. But then why are some who are clearly wicked seemingly not judged, seemingly not suffering, but are instead appear to be elevated? Well, one reason that God would do that is if someone is fully given over to wickedness, they're all in with evil, they want nothing to do with God or what's good, then in my opinion, it's that pretty much the best good God can get out of such a wicked person is to make an example out of that person. And perhaps if they are elevated to a great height and allowed to have a catastrophic fall in the sight of everyone so that everyone can see, wow, that person was so wicked and they had so much and they lost it all, it leaves a lasting image in their minds. And so it can really affect other people, and maybe, just maybe, there's a small chance that someone who's that wicked, after such a great fall, could possibly be humbled. I don't think it's likely or happens as often as it would, as often as I would like it to happen, but the possibility is there. Other people who seem to do very small acts of wickedness and get consequences right away, they're not as far gone as the wholeheartedly wicked people. And I think what God's doing there is that's just a mercy. That He's punishing your little act of wickedness right away so that you can see the immediate consequences of your actions, and to give you that lesson that if you continue down this road of evil, you're going to get evil in return. And so there are many people who are on that edge, that borderline between righteous and wicked, and they lean over onto the wicked side, and God smacks them, and they regain their balance, and they see clearly, wow, okay, wickedness sucks, and they go and they choose righteousness. So, what then is the cause for those who are actually righteous, not self-righteous, not putting on airs or trying to trick people into thinking that they're righteous, but genuinely in their heart are righteous? Why does God let those people suffer? Well, the short answer is God's testing them. He's testing, are you truly committed to righteousness? You've had a taste of what it's like to be righteous, to experience righteous, to practice righteousness. But are you truly committed to God's cause? Are you truly committed to God and to righteousness, to serving the Lord? Because if you're truly righteous, if you're in it for the sake of righteousness, you would help that old lady cross the street, and afterwards she might be angry at you and slap you in the face, and then some people might get discouraged from that and say, well, I'm never helping anyone ever again. But if you're truly righteous, you would respond to that cruelty in a number of ways. God might even help you, put it on your heart. Just tell her that you love her anyway, you forgive her, that you want to know why she did that you care about her, that, because you don't know what happened in her life. But her slapping you after you help her cross the street could be a door opening for you to help her unload some emotional baggage she may have been carrying her whole life. But so, as far as your righteousness goes, when you suffer and you're truly righteous, again, not waiting for everyone in the restaurant to see you put that big tip in the tip jar, not, calling attention to everyone, hey everyone, look, I'm helping this old lady cross the street, aren't I a good guy? But those that are truly righteous, who, when no one's looking, who even make it a point to, wait for no one to see them put a tip in the tip jar. Because it's a simple matter of, do you enjoy doing the right thing? For the sake of just having done the right thing. Not for the credit that it gets you, not for respect that earns you in the eyes of other people. But are you righteous for God's sake, or are you righteous for your own sake? And so, if you're righteous for God's sake, God's going to test you. But He's not going to test you forever. He may test you multiple times. He might, say, all right, you passed this first test, I'm going to not, I'm gonna, work with you and not test you for a while, and then he might spring, a sudden test on you years later, months later. But it's just a matter of there's a certain state of your character, state of heart. And God knows the hearts of every one of us. He knows our character. That's why he'll elevate those truly wicked people and give them everything they think they want in this life, just to take it away from them in a way that makes an example of them for everyone to see. That's why he'll bring the hammer down hard on people who just dip their toe into wickedness, and why he will even slap someone in the face for helping an old lady cross the street. Because he's showing us our character and giving us an opportunity to show him what our choice is. Do we accept that bad things could happen when we do the right thing, but do the right thing anyway? Do we just give up? Are we in that state where we're just giving up all the time? Or have we truly given up? Given up righteousness and goodness forever? Because God's perfect plan, God's perfect will for everyone has already accounted for every possible choice we could all make. So that no matter what any one of us does, God's will always be perfect. And so the choice, ultimately, what you're choosing is how you participate in God's will. If you want to experience what is truly the greatest joy you can experience in life, you choose God's way. And he's going to test you to make sure that you really want to do this. Because if you aren't sure that you like righteousness, God's not going to force you into being righteous. But if you do want righteous, if you want to be righteous, the righteousness of God, then God respects and honors that. Because when God tests you and tests your righteousness, he's not just testing it for his own sake, he's testing you for your sake, so that you can see, wow, that's how I responded to that situation. Well, I feel good about myself because I didn't give in to that urge to sink back down to that level of wickedness. I instead chose to rise above it and embrace righteousness in spite of what anyone else does or says. Because if you're truly righteous, it means that you're righteous for the sake of righteousness, not righteous because you get rewarded for it by anyone. And you're not choosing righteousness to avoid some punishment, right? That's why it seems maybe a little paradoxical that you could get punished, seemingly, for doing the right thing. Because the right thing is the right thing regardless of what you get as a reward. And faith in God is simply trusting that God sees everything and he's not going to just let people punishing you for doing the right thing slide. He will have the last say. And so, for me, I prefer being on God's side. Because when God has the last say, I would rather him recognize that I was true to myself and true to my heart and true to how I want to honor his will. Thank you.